This is Off the Ice, the Nanaimo Clippers hockey show on 106.9 The Wolf. With the latest news on the Clippers and the BCHL, here's Dan Marshall.
First Clippers hockey show of 2016. We've been off for a few weeks, and boy, some busy times in there, the Christmas break. And since that, 3 Nanaimo Clipper games, all very eventful, all key divisional matchups. And the Clippers, 1 win, 2 losses in there. We'll talk about those games and this week coming up with the head coach and general manager of the Clippers, Mike Vandekamp. Also, goalies today. Evan Johnson and Jakob Walter will join us later on in our next segment. So we'll talk to the voice of the Bulldogs, Evan Hammond, about Nanaimo's next home game. It's Wednesday. Haven't been at home since December the 18th. And then also we'll look ahead to the Powell River game as well, coming up on Saturday. And also, you might have heard the comments, some of them on our show on the weekend on Saturday from Powell River. A new BCHL website. Brent Mutis, communications director from the BC Hockey League, he talked to us about that new website, and we'll get some of his thoughts on why and how the new website is going to work out. A different navigation when you're looking for Clipper stats, to be sure, on the new website. But let's start with hockey trivia. Joe D, goalies are coming in today. Goalies, the subject of our trivia, and you have to give 2 answers. I'm not making it easy.
Oh, this is a hard one.
In 2016.
No,
what's the question?
New year, new question. Who were the last 2 Clippers number goalies the past 2 seasons?
So you got 2 guys, 2 number 1 goalies the last 2 seasons. Very memorable Clippers. So you should be able to get both if you've been a fan for a little while. And both, I would say, household names when it comes to the Nanaimo Clippers. Let's bring in the head coach and general manager, Mike Vandekamp. Coach, a very eventful weekend. Ultimately, 2 losses against the Powell River Kings. But as you look back at those 2 games, we could have a whole ton of talking points. I just want to get your overall thoughts, though.
Well, I guess an interesting week. I thought we played well on Wednesday night and coming off the break in Cowichan. We controlled the play pretty well. We got into a lot of penalty trouble in the latter stages of that game. Trend sort of continued for the rest of the week. Really, penalty trouble was an issue in all 3 games. Over the course of the week, we were shorthanded approximately 29 times, 3 games. So, that's a lot for any team. I think Saturday night's game, we played well. I thought we had real good forecheck. We created some decent scoring chances, and we didn't really quite capitalize on enough of them. And, with 37 shots and only gave up 23, I thought we carried quite a bit of the play and played a pretty decent hockey game, but we just didn't get the result. And Sunday was a little bit of a different story. We got off to a really good start. We just had a couple of little turning points in the game. Still don't think the first goal was in, but it counted, and then they got a little bit of momentum, and then, of course, we tied the game back up at 3-3, and I think the game was a pretty good hockey game at that point, and then it just sort of deteriorated after that. We had a couple of soft goals kind of go in, and we got into a lot of penalty trouble after that and spent basically the rest of the game in the penalty box. We were shorthanded 12 times in that game, so not going to win too many games when that happens.
Another divisional game against a hated rival, and it's probably going to be emotional again. Does emotional control become something you talk about ahead of a game with the Bulldogs on Wednesday, because that's one of the most hated rivals again that you have?
Yeah, I suppose so. Dan, it's a subject that's pretty difficult to talk about, to be honest, because I really don't know where to even go with it. The game isn't allowed to be emotional anymore, or if it is, then sometimes you can get away with things, other times you can't. There used to be a lot of room for a fist fight in a game of hockey from time to time to settle things down or to calm down a certain situation. That's not allowed to happen anymore in the game. So somebody's desired this type of hockey. So if you want to call it emotional when people are busy yapping at each other and stuff like that, then call it what it is. But for me, it's just mass frustration. So I'd rather change the subject at this time, to be honest with you, because it's just massively frustrating at this point. I don't know. I don't know what to expect Wednesday, Dan. I have no idea. So hopefully it's just a good hockey game at this point.
Let's talk about another subject that I wanted to get into here. You just finished tournament season. And what that means is you get a chance to look at a lot of the top midget players. I don't know if you got a chance to, or if you leave that all to Jason Williamson, but can you give us any kind of update without naming specific names about tournament season in the midget ranks over the Christmas holidays?
Well, I mean, we attend, like the Max tournament is a big tournament still for scouting and recruiting opportunities. I think that the whole landscape of scouting and recruiting has changed a lot, though, because the players are spread out all over the place. I mean, it used to be a little more simplified where, players were playing, and now they're playing in a lot of different leagues. I mean, we're recruiting from prep school hockey, whether it be in Eastern Canada or Eastern United States, high school hockey in places like Minnesota, et cetera, and through those parts of the country. Midget hockey still in Canada, is an area. Obviously, the midget leagues in the prairies in Alberta, Saskatchewan, major midget league in BC. But you've also got the academy leagues now that exist all through BC and into Alberta, into the States, and then of course there's still junior B hockey. So it's not very easy to just be in one place and catch a whole bunch of top end prospects because of they're spread out all over the place. So we spend time trying to scout and recruit as much as we can. Obviously, we were at the Max tournament with fairly good coverage, and got a little bit of an idea of where we wanted to go from there with a little bit of recruiting. But we are all over the place right now when it comes to that. And it's really important to, I think right now, to try to build a team that stays young enough to be able to return a nucleus of players. I think that's a key to success in our league. To be able to build a program that keeps our players here for, maybe a couple of seasons, maybe 3 at the most. Try to have some young players in our lineup that are going to be back with us because, the recruiting wars out there are not difficult to win, and the players are literally everywhere, and the budgets are different than they used to be when it comes to recruiting and scouting too. So it's a different world out there, but we are working hard at that, and we are pretty excited about where our team is headed in the future, not only with the nucleus of players that we have here now, but some good young prospects that will be here next year.
Trade deadline is coming up this weekend. I'm imagining that you set up your office like a war room on trade deadline day on Sunday when you don't have a game. And I'm imagining something like you'd see on TSN, but I'm not sure how it works inside your office, if you have just yourself and Blake Clement there, or if you have a whole group there trying to make some things happen and get advice from different people. But on a non-game day for the trade deadline on Sunday, what's that going to look like for you? This is, of course, assuming you don't do everything that you want to do between now and then.
Well, that's what'll set everything up for that day, is just kind of what goes on this week first. We're in a situation where we can make as many as 3 changes to our lineup. Some teams can make 0 and have no cards left to play with. So it's a different type of day than it used to be. The carding system now and the way that player movement is controlled has put us in, tied people's hands a lot. So you're not going to see, I don't think, as many moves as you used to see, just because some teams just simply can't make them. They don't have the cards to make moves. So, that's one thing. I think secondly, this year, we've also got a lot of teams, especially in our own league here, that are, competing to make playoffs, competing to try to win. There's lots of competitive teams. There isn't those teams that you find that are, out of the playoffs already, not just in our league, but in some of the other leagues that we also deal with. It's kind of similar. So there isn't as many teams that would be considered sellers, I guess, at this time of the year, as there sometimes can be. Some of those teams have been sort of made moves already, and there's not a lot of players left necessarily that they would want to move, because a lot of times it's older players that would move at this time of the year. And so I guess my point is there isn't a great market of players out there to even be looking at, but that doesn't mean that you can't get creative and find other areas of the other leagues and other places to kind of try to deal with if you feel you have a need on your team. So it's going to take some hard work to try to do a little bit of digging and see what we can find. We have to be, really aware of the future of our team here this year too, and yet we're a competitive team this year, and we can maybe add something that'll help our team, but we don't want to be, crazy stupid about that either. So what we tend to do is if we still haven't made any moves by Sunday, then we're going to be settling in there and just spending a lot of time online. Like we did a little bit of that today, just trying to put together a little bit of a list and some players that we feel that we might want to take a run at, and that, and being realistic about it. I mean, because you got to have a team that's going to be willing to deal on the other side a little bit too. So it's not an easy thing to pull off. Everybody can say, well, the Clippers need to add this, this, and this. Well, if it was that easy, then we would have done it already. So it's simply not as easy as it used to be. So it'll be an all week kind of a thing that, we'll talk to some teams and we'll work along with it. But I would predict that you're not going to see a whole bunch of moves going on just because of all the reasons I just described. I just think it's a different landscape than it used to be, and things just aren't going to happen the same way that they used to be in the old days. So, which is fine, and yet we know what we feel we could use. We have some ideas of what we'd like to try to maybe do with our team, but whether we'll be able to do that or not is yet to be seen.
I apologize because I've kept you long already, but I have to get this in because you're the junior A coach in Nanaimo. What happened, in your estimation, because I know you watch closely, to Team Canada at the World Juniors? I know that's kind of a loaded question to ask you, but as probably one of the preeminent hockey minds in Nanaimo, your opinion, I think, matters to people. What did you see?
Well, I didn't watch every game of the tournament. I did watch the final game really closely, or as close as I could. As you know, we watched it together actually on Saturday. But, I didn't think that they had, it seemed, their goaltending wasn't as consistent maybe, or as strong as you might have hoped it would have been. I think that was a factor for sure in the outcome. Maybe in the whole tournament, it never really seemed to settle in and settle down, but certainly in that final game, that was a major factor. I think discipline was obviously a factor. I mean, there was some penalties taken that were very costly, obviously unfortunate too, like that second penalty that was taken to put them down 5-on-3 is a bit of a fluke type of thing when a guy clears a puck all the way down the ice. But you always go back to that first penalty and what got you in that problem in the first place. And so I think discipline has to be looked at. And, it's a tough one because Canada's best players, junior age players, are quite often playing in the National Hockey League. And you sometimes look at the roster and think, what if we had this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy still able to play junior hockey for our nation at that tournament, and obviously they're playing in the NHL right now. So every year our roster gets depleted a little bit by that, and this year that was a major factor. So I think sometimes there's too much pressure put on that team. There's such high expectations that they're always expected to win the tournament every single year, and the game is a worldwide game now, and some of these nations are awfully strong, obviously, at the game. There's more competition than ever before. And we're also having a lot of those guys come over here and train by playing in the CHL. I think the Finns had 6 or 7 guys on their team that play in Canadian Major Junior Hockey. So it's a different world out there now. We're not going to win the tournament every year. I don't think that we need to have a national inquest as to figure out what's wrong with Canadian hockey because we didn't win that tournament this season. I think the roster maybe wasn't quite as strong as it is from year to year, and then some of those little factors kicked in, and it's too bad. We all pull for that team every year, and next year will be fun to see them try to rebound and bounce back. It's always such a fun tournament to watch, and it gives Canadians an opportunity to sit together around a television and enjoy cheering for the same team for once, all on the same side, and that's always fun. And so hopefully next year they can bounce back.
Coach, thanks as always for your time. Looking forward to being back at Frank Crane Arena finally Wednesday against the Bulldogs, Saturday against Powell River, and we'll chat again Wednesday.
Sounds good. See you there, Dan. Thanks.
That is the head coach and general manager of the Clippers, Mike Vandekamp. And before we go to break, Joe, I want that trivia question one more time. Go on our Facebook page, and it's a goalie question.
Who were the last 2 Clippers number goalies, the past 2 seasons, excuse me?
You know that answer. Go to Facebook. Let us know. I love it when the goalies come on, because I pretend that I'm a ball hockey goalie, so we can learn some things from these guys. I'm usually watching them in the warm-up to try and improve my game, and it hasn't ever happened. But I've got Jakob Walter and Evan Johnson here, the Clipper goalies. We're going to talk to Evan in just a moment because I think, Evan, you and I can probably talk about things from the weekend, probably for an hour. There were so many things that happened. But Jakob, I want to hear from your perspective, getting to watch what unfolded on the weekend in Powell River. From your team, what did you see this weekend?
Yeah, we just took a lot of penalties and pucks didn't go our way. We had a lot of shots in the first game and didn't bury, but just we got to move on from this weekend and hopefully take into the next game and beat them.
We talked on the Clippers Hockey Show early in the season, and since you were last here, where do you think your game has come in terms of how your development has gone?
I think I've been getting better. Yeah, it's been good this season. Really enjoying Nanaimo. It's a good city to play in.
How tough is it? I know anytime I talk to any player, your last game isn't to win. And when you're the backup goalie, you have to wait a while to get that next start. Mentally, what kind of a challenge is that? Because you want to get back in there, you want to get back in the win column. Do you have to fight any mental battles with yourself?
Yeah, you just got to just try to forget about the last one, even if it's you just got to watch video about good saves you made and just look at the bright side of it and just move on, I guess, from there.
How important was it? 4 starts in a row for you. Evan took a bit of a knock, and you had to be the guy. But as a young goalie trying to get your feet wet in the BC Hockey League, you got to play 4 games in a row and kind of be the number one guy. What was that like?
It was good. Felt good to get those going, and it was fun. Like feeling like the starter, I guess. Get to feel what Evan's feeling right now. So it's pretty good.
What are some of the ups and downs that you went through over that time? Because there's some good success in there, and you're suffering some losses, but you're getting some wins along the way too. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was hard, but just take out the bright from it and just learn from my mistakes. And I'm young, and I guess I'll just look back and take the good out of it.
What does David Leneveu work with you on? You guys don't see each other every week, I know, but you guys talk, and he works on you with other things. So what is he working on with you specifically?
He's working with me staying up more because I'm a bigger goalie, so he wants me to play to my size and just coming out more and play my angles well.
What kind of goalie coaching do you have? Do you have another guy that you work with in the summertime? Do you have a bunch of guys that you work with in terms of a set goalie coach? How does that position unfold for you?
Yeah, I've had one goalie coach my whole career, unless it was on a spring team or whatever, but I've always been with a guy back home, Angelo Maggio. He has his own place back there, and he's probably, I just love him. He's a really good guy, and he always hosts me whenever I need it.
What was the Christmas break like around your house?
It was good. A lot of family stuff, a lot of big dinners, and I was on the ice a bit with my goalie coach, so it was a good little break.
Let's bring in Evan Johnson. And like I said, Evan, we could probably talk about the weekend for a heck of a long time. But overall, games against the Powell River Kings, and the first time that you've seen that team, it had been over 100 days since the Clippers and the Kings played. What were your thoughts on that team in the weekend?
I mean, obviously they're a good team. They battle pretty hard, and they definitely work hard. So, I mean, that's something you got to watch when you play against them. But obviously not the result we wanted from the weekend. But, I mean, it's just 2 games, so it's not that big of a deal.
I want to go back to the last game because there was a lot of events in that hockey game. First of all, their alleged first goal, and I didn't have a great angle on it, but I didn't see the puck over the line, and I thought when you got up that you had it, but the light came on and they're celebrating a goal, and you were adamant right away that never went in the net. So take us through that play.
Well, I think we were on the power play, so they came down and they shot it about in the slot area, and puck hit the post and popped out, and I reached my glove out, and their player shot the puck to an open net sort of, and I felt it hit my glove, and then all I know is that I felt it hit my glove and it hit my pants as I was lying on my stomach, and I covered the puck up, and then all of a sudden I looked and the ref called it a goal. So I just immediately went to him and I was like, could you please, that wasn't a goal. If it was a goal, I would tell you, but that was not a goal. Please talk to your linesman. And he refused to talk to me after that, and allegedly it was a goal, but I would say if it was, but I just really don't know. So
in that game, I was watching, and it was the second period, in the media timeout when you have the long change and you actually have to cross their bench to get to your bench. And I saw that you and it looked like Jeff Smith had a few words back and forth. And then in the third period, you were just about out to center. And it looked like with the body language that you guys thought that maybe it might be time to get into something there. Talk about that little head rivalry with Jeff Smith, the other goalie, and what happened.
Well, I mean, I usually try not to get too fired up or anything, but that first goal really got to me, I'd say. Shouldn't have, but it did. And so after that, I was really trying to get into it with their goalie. And he, I offered him probably about 4 or 5 times to fight, and he didn't want to, or whatever it may be. But I did skate out to center ice, but he didn't want to come, I guess. So
you've got that same team on Saturday nights, and I know there's a huge game against the Bulldogs. You guys need the 2 points here, and you want to get back on a roll again because you guys really have been rolling. But is that game at least in the back of your mind right now that you get to play that team again so quickly on Saturday at home?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to play them again. It doesn't really change. It's not going to change our game plan or whatever would happen this past weekend. So I'm probably not going to be as fired up as I was on the Sunday, but I'm just going to try and do my best anyways.
You went through 10 games, 9 wins, 1 no decision in that span. One of the best stretches that you've ever had, certainly playing junior hockey, but you were really hot for a long time. Have you ever gone through a nice stretch like that before?
Well, I mean, we were a pretty good team when I was in midget at 16, so I guess probably then I think we only lost like 2 or 3 games all year or something, so I guess during that span, but other than that, definitely not in junior hockey. I haven't had a run like that. So.
I was talking with Jakob about David Lenevue, the Clippers goalie coach, and a guy that's been to the top of the mountain. He's played in the NHL. He was the backup in the Stanley Cup final a couple of years ago. What has he been working with you specifically in your game?
Just consistency and making sure I'm working on the little things in my game. Just making sure I don't get away from little habits like that when you're even if you're playing good, just to make sure you're still working maybe even harder when you're going through a role like that.
I want to get into our game. It is hockey, goalie, nickname, tic-tac-toe.
Okay.
Hockey, goalie, nickname, tic-tac-toe. And just before we get there, first of all, Jakob, your favorite NHL goalie? Could be past or present.
Probably have to go with Carey Price.
We thought that was going to come from you. No secret there. Evan Johnson, your favorite NHL goalie?
I'd probably say Braden Holtby.
Braden Holtby, all right, of the Washington Capitals. And Jakob, are you a student of NHL goalies? Do you look at numbers? Do you look at guys from the past? Do you watch the current guys really closely?
Yeah, I watch most of the current guys. Don't really look at their stats much because, you can't really tell a goalie from their stats, I'm guessing, only. But, yeah, I just like watching some of my favorite goalies when they're playing and, yeah, just learn from them.
Evan, what about you? Are you a real student of the game? Do you watch the NHL guys closely and look at goalie numbers and things like that?
When I was younger, yeah, definitely. Now I don't really pay too much attention to it. I just I'm a big fan of Braden Holtby and Carey Price and Jonathan Quick and all those guys. But I mean, obviously there's lots to be learned from them, but I just kind of try and focus on myself a little bit.
Hockey goalie nicknames. If anyone should know, it should be these 2 guys, the Clipper goalies, Jakob Walter, Evan Johnson. I am going to throw out a nickname now, and the first guy to ring their bell, you guys both have bells in front of you. First guy to ring your bell and tell me what the real name of that goalie is will get to go to the tic-tac-toe board and put up an X or an O, and there is a prize for the winner of the tic-tac-toe game. And if the game ends in a draw, we've got tiebreaker goalie nickname trivia. So I'll go to the board, and we'll talk about our first goaltender nickname. Ready? Jakob, you're not ready. Okay.
I'm ready.
You're ready now. Optimus Rhyme. Evan was first.
Oh, no way. James Reimer.
James Reimer is correct. Grab that Sharpie, go to the board, and you get the first. And you can be X's or O's, doesn't matter, but you're on the board first. And Evan Johnson puts an X in the center. He is the first guy to get the goalie nickname correct. Number 2, goalie nickname, Kipper. Gotta say Evan again.
Mika Kiprusoff.
Mika Kiprusoff is correct. Very slightly ahead of Jakob Walter. If this is a quick sweep by chance. We're going to flip that board over. We're going to play again.
Catch up, Jacob.
The number one goalie has a bit of a lead in tic-tac-toe. Let's do something a little bit more challenging. Tony O. Old school.
What if you get it wrong?
If you get it wrong, there's no consequence. Tony O.
How old school?
Old school, 1970s.
Tony Esposito.
That is correct.
He's older than me.
He's only a couple of years older. He wasn't anywhere near the 70s. So Evan does well, throws 3 on the board. We're going to get Joe to very quickly put up another score sheet. And we're going to play again. Why not? Evan just smoked that one out of the park.
I just got lucky.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Let's go with something a little older again. Back old school. We'll get to the current guys in a moment, but Evan was so quick, I needed to find something that was a little older and make him guess. Okay, guys. Jacob and Evan. Eddie the Eagle.
Eddie Belfour.
Evan Johnson again.
Carmen, Manitoba. Shout out to Carmen.
Well, a Manitoba guy should know Eddie Belfour. Evan Johnson gets that, and he's going to probably go with an X in the middle again. He does. Jacob, you know this one. You got to be really quick here. Really, really, really quick. Hamburglar. We'll call that a tie and give it to Jacob.
Okay.
Oh, what's his first name?
Come on.
Oh, no.
I forget his first name.
Okay, well.
He was a BCHL guy,
Yeah.
too.
Was he?
He was a BCHL guy with Vernon.
Oh,
Come on,
these
dude.
are the centers, I know.
You're not serious right now.
Okay, give us the last name.
Okay, 10 seconds.
It's
Pressure's on.
I can't even brain fart, you know. Give it to him.
His name is Andrew Hammond.
Andrew Hammond is correct. Jacob, you're really up against it here.
Yeah.
We're not flipping that board over again. We want you to make this a contest. Evan Johnson's getting a swelled head right now that he knows all these guys. This one is going to be extremely difficult. Neither one of you guys should know this, but I'm going to give out some hints. The Chicoutimi cucumber. Old school reference. Keep your hand near the bell. Extremely old school. A major NHL trophy is named after him.
Vesna?
Vesna is correct.
I don't know.
A clean sweep for Evan Johnson at goalie trivia. And he puts a smiley face on the board to rub it in. That's a taunt. Jacob, I would allow this if you wanted to. That if you wanted to jersey Evan and scrap him right now. There was no goalie fight in the game yesterday.
You would definitely win.
Line.
But if you want to scrap him, jersey him, I would give you absolute permission. Evan, just on fire for hockey goalie nickname tic-tac-toe. Congratulations. You're the winner of this shiny trophy.
Oh, wow. You didn't have to.
You are number one. Proudly display that. I don't know if you want to drink some champagne out of that later when you get back to your billet's
I
house.
wouldn't do that. That's not allowed.
That's a bit of a party foul. Well, maybe drink
some orange juice out of it.
Maybe drink. Well, don't orange juice it, but maybe 7-Up or Sprite, something like that. I don't want you to stain that pure gold trophy that you've won for your victory at Clippers hockey goalie nickname tic-tac-toe. Guys, thank you very much. We had some fun. Looking forward to Wednesday, and we'll chat again very soon.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
Evan Johnson, Jacob Walter, good sports both. Evan Johnson, a double winner on the tic-tac-toe board. Officially, we have a trivia winner for a pair of Clipper tickets from Facebook. Joe D, who's our winner?
Well, congratulations to Terry M. Very sneaky, sent us a message as to not give away the answer to the question, which was, who were the last 2 Clippers number 1 goalies the past 2 seasons? And Dan, I think you can pronounce the names a little better than I can.
I'll give it a shot. Guillaume Dessel and Jason Arcu,
Yes.
the 2 goalies, great goalies. And we had a couple of great goalies here on our show earlier today, Evan Johnson and Jacob Walter, and they got a ride. Nolan Abel might have gotten away without paying a fine because I think he came back and got the goalies, but they were stranded for a little while. On behalf of Joe, this is Dan. Good night from Off the Ice.
You've been listening to Off the Ice, the Clippers Hockey Show. Join us again next Monday night at 7 on Nanaimo's Rock, 106.9 The Wolf.